It's Tuesday, November the 24th. Doing the fishing report a day early this week because of the holidays. Lake level is right about 9:17. It's about the same as it was last week. You know, water came up quite a bit from that rain that we got. They started generating some water, and the last 4 or 5 days been right at 9:17. Water's starting to cool down. I did get a chance to get out a little bit this weekend. It's right down around 60, 61 degrees, and fish are starting to bite good. They're getting grouped up. But before I get into the fishing report, there's a couple different things going on. Sportsman Factory in Lewes has got their Black Friday deal going on. Actually started today, and they'll be open Friday and Saturday from 8 to 6 on Friday and 8 to 3 on Saturday. Now, along with their, they've got all kinds of things on sale. They're making room for, they got a lot of the 2016 product coming in as far as rods and reels. They got a lot of sales on that type of stuff. They got like wiggle warts for $2.99. And they got a special little deal going on that if you bring in any canned food goods, it's a deal that Lewes, they help out local families in the area over the holidays with all the canned goods. But if you bring anything in, you get 20% off on anything in the store except for something that's already on sale. So, I mean, that's a really good deal, and at the same time, you're getting to help out some people in the Springfield area in need. But along with their sale, they've got a lot of different deals going on in A-Rig, some selected Megabass colors, just a lot of different product. And like I say, if you bring in some canned goods, everything in the store is 20% off. Now, something that they also have is probably not a big deal right now. About a month or two ago, from the end of the summer through September, there was a certain colored Zoom horny toad that was a really hot item, and it's called a Ghost. Now, Zoom stopped making it. Nobody could find them anywhere, but the guys at Sportsman, they were able to get a special run made, and I think they've got several hundred packages of the Zoom horny toad Ghost. So it may not be a big deal right now, but it's something that you guy needs to stock up on them because you can't get them anywhere else and probably won't be able to get them again. Like I say, they've got several hundred bags, and when they're gone, I don't think you'll be able to get them again. So they've got them in stock right now. Now, as far as the fishing report, you know, I'm finding a lot of fish starting to group up out there deep. And the wind blew pretty hard this past weekend, so I didn't fish a lot of main lake. I fished mainly in the creeks. But what I was looking for was the steeper creek pockets, the 45-degree banks, where it had a lot of depth out in the middle. You know, one day I found them on the bottom, the next day I found them suspended out over the trees. And how I seemed to do the best was I was catching them on a white spoon and also an ice fishing jig, a Rapala ice fishing jig. Now, that Rapala ice fishing jig is a real big deal in the wintertime. Throw a couple different sizes. This is, I believe this one's the 7/8 ounce. But a blue and chrome works real good. A white with a little bit of chartreuse. And it's kind of a crazy little deal. It's got a hook on each end and one in the middle. Now, you fish it a little different than you do a spoon. You know, the spoon, actually the fish that I found on the bottom, they were anywhere from 30 to 40 feet the one day. And I just let the spoon go right down to the bottom and, you know, fairly aggressive strokes. They would usually hit it on the way down. And usually once you got the fish fired up, you could catch several fish on it. And something I do when I start finding them grouped up like that, so I'll actually tie, you'll see this feathered hook, and I actually put it on the line before I tie the spoon on. So this thing slides up and down. What this will do, sometimes we'll just do it with a bare hook, but what it does is when they're biting that spoon, if they get the wrong end of it, they'll get hooked up on this hook that slides. But when you're vertical jigging it, a lot of times the spoon will fall faster, and then the hook, the treble hook with the feather on it, will fall kind of slower. So if the fish want a little bit slower presentation on something, it's also a little bit smaller bait. But what it does when you get in them groups of fish, a lot of times you can hook up doubles, because once you get one hooked, then the other ones get excited. And if you've got one on the spoon, they'll usually bite the hook with the feather. If you catch one on the hook with the feather first, then a lot of times you'll catch a second one on the spoon itself. Now the second day, those fish were suspended out over the trees. The trees were coming up to about 30, 40 feet, and I was anywhere from 60 to 80 foot of water, and I could, find the big schools of shad, and the fish were either under the shad or in the treetops. Now the one day that they were on the bottom, there was a lot more bait activity, and the fish would actually show themselves. They'd come up surfacing. They wouldn't stay up very long, but one or two fish would come up. But usually if I'd go over in that area, then I could catch them down there about 30, 35 feet. Every once in a while they were pushing some shad up to the surface. And the day that they were doing that, I also caught them on a flutter spoon, just letting it go down about 5 or 8 feet. Some of them ones that the fish were pushing the shad up the surface. And I think you could probably catch them on an Alabama rig. It's that time of year. I didn't even have any in the boat. I've got them in now. But that's something to start throwing too. And I was just taking that flutter spoon when I would see fish surface or some shad popping, and give it about a 5 or 8 count, and then work it back to the boat. Now along with the deep bite, I've been catching some fish on crankbaits, on a Spro rock crawler and a Storm wigglewort. And I've been throwing mainly crawdad patterns, and kind of what I'm doing when I'm going in these creeks. I've got the wiggleworts tied on, the Spro, and I've got my deep stuff. If there's a good secondary point with a little bit of wind on it, I'll pick up a crankbait and fish the point, and probably 100 yards down each side. It seemed like most of my bites came right on the points, or the first 50, 75 yards past the point. Now, wind seems to be a big deal. If I've got a little breeze on it, that's the point that I would fish. If the next day you go out there, the wind's blowing a different direction, I'd look for the same kind of point, but like I say, you may have to go to the other side of the creek or another side of the lake where the wind's coming in on that particular point. The wind was so strong this weekend, a couple days, I couldn't get out and fish the main lake, so I was kind of keying on the creeks. But I would go in there and fish the good-looking rock transitions in the points. If I didn't catch anything on the wigglewort, then I'd go out to the center, and just a lot of times you got to spend quite a little bit of time on your trolling motor and watching your electronics to either find the bait or the fish on the fish on the bottom or close to the bottom. Like I say, one day they'll suspend, the next day they'll be on the very bottom. But they're starting to group up real good, and like I said, that water's getting down into the 60s. So I think for the next month, the crankbait bite, spinnerbait bite should just get better, and you should start to see Alabama rig, bite come on, and a jerk bait. That's that time of year with that water cooling down. Then bigger fish are going to start to feed for winter. Now they had a couple tournaments this weekend. They had a Central Pro-Am, and I think it was like right at 16 pounds to win, but there was a lot of limits caught. So the fish are biting good. And you should start to see the weight start to increase, some bigger stringers. So, like I say, if you get a chance, don't forget to check out the sale at the Sportsman Factory Outlet at Lou's, and check out the Black Friday sale, all the different things they got there. You can't hardly go wrong. So, till next week, good luck, good fishing.